Lewis diagrams are used to determine the skeletal structure of a covalently bonded molecule or polyatomic ion, using a set of rules. So first we determine the number of valence electrons. So using this example of the sulfur trifluoride cation, sulfur has 6 valence electrons, and fluorine has 7. So given there's 3 fluorines, that gives 21 valence electrons. So in total, we have 27. Now if we have a cation, we subtract an electron to get that charge, or an anion, we add an electron to get a negative charge. So in this case we have a positive charge, so we subtract an electron. And now we sketch a geometry with the least electronegative element in the middle, and attach that to the other elements using single bonds. So in each bond, 2 valence electrons are shared, so we're left with 20 valence electrons. And now we assign the remaining valence electrons to the outer elements to get a complete octet of 8 electrons. So here we add 6 electrons to the fluorines, because there's 2 shared electrons in each bond, such that fluorine has a complete outer shell of 8 electrons. And now we assign the remaining electrons to the central element to complete its octet. And given we have a positive charge, this is our final Lewis dot structure. And we'll keep adding to these rules, because where there's cases where multiple Lewis diagrams exist to represent a molecule. A molecule can have more than one equivalent Lewis dot structure. So if you follow these rules as we did previously, for this nitride ion, you'll obtain the following Lewis dot structure. And I'll leave this part for you as an exercise. Now an additional step is to move 2 valence electrons from an outer atom to form a bond with the central atom. And we repeat this until the central atom has a full octet. So here we can see that nitrogen now has a full octet of 8 electrons. Now we could have done this using the other oxygen. So effectively, you get another structure that looks like this. So we call these resonance structures, which are both equally valid Lewis dot structures for this anion. And these bonds are all equivalent. So therefore we can represent the Lewis dot structure as follows by combining those two. So what we do from one of the resonance structures, we have a single bond plus a double bond, and then we divide by the number of bonds, and that gives us 1.5. So these bonds have an order somewhere between a single and a double bond. We can come up with more than one Lewis dot structure for a molecule that are not equivalent. So for example, if we follow the following steps that we've done earlier to obtain a Lewis dot structure for beryllium chloride, we can obtain the following structure where we follow up to step 5. And if we continue to step 6 to give beryllium a full octet, we obtain the following Lewis dot structure. Well, we basically took a lone pair of electrons from each chlorine to form an additional bond. Now, to determine which Lewis dot structure is the most likely correct, we introduce the concept of formal charge, which is equal to the number of valence electrons minus the number of free electrons and minus the number of bonded electrons on 2. So from the periodic table, we know that chlorine has 7 valence electrons, and we have 6 assigned electrons, and then minus 2 electrons per bond, divided by 2. So basically the concept of formal charge assumes that those electrons are shared equally between the bonded atoms. And similarly, the formal charge on the other chlorine atom is 0, and beryllium has 2 valence electrons from the periodic table, minus the free electrons, and then minus the number of bonded electrons, which is 4 in this case, on 2. So the goal is to get a formal charge of 0 for the central atom. So this is the likely correct Lewis dot structure. And I'll leave it for you to verify the formal charge of the atoms in this structure, and you'll find that the formal charge of the central atom is not 0. Let's draw the Lewis diagram for boron trifluoride. So we first determine the number of valence electrons for each element. So 3 for boron and 7 for each fluorine. So that gives a total of 24 valence electrons. And now we draw the skeletal geometry of the molecule with the least electronegative atom in the middle. So each bond takes up 2 electrons. And now we complete the octet of the terminal atoms. So we need to add 6 valence electrons to each fluorine. And now we're left with 0 valence electrons. So therefore, we can skip step 5, because there's no more electrons to add to the central atom. Now calculating the formal charge of the fluorine, where the electrons in each bond are assumed to be shared equally between the atoms. So fluorine has 7 valence electrons, minus the free electrons, minus the number of bonded electrons on 2. So each fluorine has a formal charge of 0. And boron has 3 valence electrons, minus 0 free electrons, and then minus 6 bonded electrons on 2. So boron also has a formal charge of 0. So given the formal charge on the central atom is 0, this is our likely Lewis dot structure. Let's draw the Lewis diagram for the sulfur trifluoride anion. So again, we determine a number of valence electrons using the periodic table. So we have 6 for sulfur and 3 by 7 for fluorine. So that will be 27 valence electrons. And then we add an electron because we have a negative charge. And now we draw the skeletal geometry according to step 3 with the least electronegative atom in the middle. So in each bond 2 electrons are shared. So now we're left with 22 electrons. And then we complete the octet of the terminal atoms. So that leaves us with 4 valence electrons, which we now put on the central atom. And now we'll calculate the formal charge for each atom. So this assumes that the electrons are equally shared between the atoms in each bond. So a quick way we can do this is draw a circle around each atom, and then subtract the assigned electrons from the number of valence electrons. So fluorine is a halogen, so it has 7 valence electrons. And then subtracting the assigned electrons gives a formal charge of 0. And that's the same for each fluorine atom. And sulfur has 6 valence electrons. And then we subtract the assigned electrons around sulfur, which gives a formal charge of -1, which is equal to the charge of the ion. So the formal charge around most atoms is 0, and therefore this is the most likely Lewis dot structure. And here sulfur has an expanded octet of more than 8 electrons. So for elements in period 3 and above, the additional electrons above 8 will fill the d orbitals. Let's draw a Lewis diagram for a free radical. So here we have nitrogen dioxide, and in step 1 we determine the number of valence electrons from the periodic table. So for nitrogen there's 5, and for 2 oxygens we have 2 by 6, which is 12. So that gives 17 valence electrons. And now we draw the skeletal geometry with the least electronegative atom in the middle. So 2 electrons are shared in each bond. So here we subtract 4 electrons. And now we complete the octet of the terminal atoms. So that now leaves us with 1 electron. And we assign that 1 electron to the central atom. And now we calculate the formal charge, which assumes that the electrons are shared equally in each bond. So what we do is just subtract the number of assigned electrons from the number of valence electrons. So oxygen has 6 valence electrons, and we have 7 assigned electrons. So the same thing for this oxygen. And nitrogen has 5 valence electrons minus 3 assigned electrons, which gives a formal charge of +2. So what we can do here is take 2 valence electrons from oxygen and use them to assign a bond to the nitrogen. And now we'll recalculate the formal charge where the electrons are shared equally between the atoms in the bond. So now the oxygen has a formal charge of 0, and the nitrogen has a formal charge of 1. And this is one of the 2 resonance structures of nitrogen dioxide, because we could have done the same thing to the other oxygen. So you can see there's a limitation to drawing the Lewis dot structure for a free radical, which has unpaired electrons. So note that we couldn't assign another bond to nitrogen, because nitrogen is in period 2, and it cannot have an expanded octet. Let's draw the Lewis diagram for xenon hexafluoride. So first we determine the valence electrons using the periodic table. So 8 valence electrons for xenon being a noble gas, and 7 valence electrons for fluorine being a halogen. So given we have 6 fluorines, we have a total of 50 valence electrons. And now we draw the skeletal geometry with the least electronegative atom in the middle, being the noble gas, which has a stable outer shell. So 2 electrons are shared in each bond, so we subtract 12 electrons from our valence electrons. And now we complete the octet of the terminal atoms. Which leaves us with 2 electrons. And we assign the remaining electrons to the central atom. So now if we determine the formal charge for each atom, which assumes that the electrons are shared equally in each bond, so just draw a circle around each atom, and then subtract the assigned electrons from the valence electrons. So fluorine has 7 valence electrons, minus 7 assigned electrons, which is 0. So each fluorine has a formal charge of 0. And for xenon, we have 8 valence electrons minus 8 assigned electrons, which also gives a formal charge of 0. So this is our likely Lewis diagram. Let's draw the Lewis diagram for the acetate anion. So first we determine the number of valence electrons. So 2 carbons have 4 each, and 3 hydrogens each have 1 valence electron, and 2 oxygens have 6 each. So that gives a total of 23 valence electrons. And because we have an anion, we'll add another electron. And now we draw the skeletal geometry with the least electronegative atom in the middle, except for hydrogen, which is normally a terminal atom. And this chemical formula tells us that we have 3 hydrogens attached to a carbon and 2 oxygens attached to another carbon. So we have 6 bonds and 2 electrons shared per bond. And now we complete the octet of the terminal atoms. Well, hydrogen can only take 2 electrons in its valence shell. And now we can calculate the formal charge on each atom. So the hydrogens have a formal charge of 0. And now for the central carbon, that has 4 valence electrons minus 4 assigned electrons. So that also has a formal charge of 0. And the oxygens here have 6 valence electrons minus 7 assigned electrons. So they have a formal charge of minus 1. And this carbon has a formal charge of 4 valence electrons minus 3 assigned electrons, which is plus 1. So what we can do is take 2 electrons from one of the oxygens to assign a bond between oxygen and carbon. So now you can see that carbon has a formal charge of 0, and the lower oxygen has a formal charge of 0. And therefore this here is our likely Lewis diagram for our acetate anion, where the net formal charge is equal to the charge on the ion. And note that this is a resonance structure, because we could have assigned the bond from the upper oxygen also. The Lewis diagram for the acetate anion is given below. Now to form acetic acid, which atom would a hydrogen atom bond to? Well, if we calculate the formal charge of each atom, which assumes that the electrons in each bond are equally shared between the atoms, then you just subtract the number of assigned electrons from the valence electrons. So that gives a formal charge of 0 for the hydrogens, and carbon has 4 assigned electrons and 4 valence electrons, so that also has a formal charge of 0. And similarly for this carbon, you also have 4 assigned electrons and 4 valence electrons. And for the upper oxygen, oxygen has 6 valence electrons minus 6 assigned electrons, which gives a formal charge of 0. And the lower oxygen has 6 valence electrons minus 7 assigned electrons, which gives a formal charge of minus 1. So what we do is take 2 electrons from this oxygen and create a bond between the oxygen and the hydrogen to form acetic acid. So therefore this oxygen here now has 6 assigned electrons, which gives it a formal charge of 0. And this hydrogen has 1 assigned electron and 1 valence electron, so that also has a formal charge of 0. And therefore this is a likely Lewis diagram for acetic acid.